There's nothing quieter than a house after a funeral. Not even the night carries that kind of silence. It's a different emptiness, as if the walls themselves have stopped breathing. My name is Ethan Morgan. I'm 18, and 3 days ago, we laid my father, Michael Morgan, to rest. The sun over Chesterton, Virginia, seemed cruel that day, relentless and unyielding. No clouds offered shade, no breeze to soften the heat. Clinging to my tears. I don't know when I realized I was somewhere else while everyone else grieved. My body held the flowers, my hands trembled, but my mind was distant, echoing only with the sound of wind and the hollow thud of dirt on the casket. That's when I saw her standing a few steps behind, dressed in black, her face hidden by a thin veil. Clara Bennett. I hadn't seen her in over 5 years, not since before my father fell ill. I remembered her speaking to me with gentleness, but always a step removed. She was never truly a stepmother, never truly a mother. Just a presence that came and went like the seasons. As the funeral ended, people slowly departed. My aunt, neighbors, my father's friends. Clara stayed until the last car drove away. She didn't speak with anyone. She simply waited as if the house itself had asked her to remain. Ethan, she finally said, and hearing my name on her lips felt different, as though she carried a quiet sorrow in it. Thank you for coming, I replied, unsure what else to say. She nodded, keeping her gaze lowered. I couldn't help it. I invited her inside, more out of habit than intention. The house smelled the same, aged wood and dust, the faint residue of a life lived carefully. My father's portrait still hung over the dining table, but something had changed. Absence filled every corner. Clara lifted her veil, and for a moment, the late afternoon sunlight touched her in a way I couldn't explain. She wasn't the woman I remembered. Her beauty remained, but now there was depth, an exhaustion tempered by quiet strength, a serenity that brushed against melancholy. I wasn't sure you'd come, I said. Neither was I, she answered, and I felt she too needed this farewell, not just for him. A long silence followed. The clock in the hallway ticked 6, each click like a tired heartbeat. Your father loved you more than you realize, she murmured. Sometimes it didn't seem like it. Sometimes when someone loves too much, they don't know how to show it right. Her words pierced me. For the first time since the funeral, I felt tears threaten to fall. She stepped closer and placed a hand on my shoulder. The gesture was small, yet it shattered the restraint I had carried for days. I said nothing. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, the world paused. When I opened them, the house was bathed in golden light. Clara looked almost unreal, like a figure from a memory I hadn't lived. Stay a little longer, I whispered. I don't want to be alone here. She nodded. We remained in silence, listening to the slow dying rhythm of the afternoon, and for the first time, between light and shadow, I felt the house breathe again. The night fell over Chesterton with a heaviness that almost hurt. Outside, the Maplewood district lit up behind drawn curtains. Inside, the house felt suspended in its own time. Clara stood before my father's portrait, a glass of wine in her hands, but untouched. His photo never used to matter much, she said softly. He never liked having his photo taken. I added. But he commissioned this one for me, she said. Her voice wavered slightly as she spoke. When I first met him, I thought he was untouchable. He seemed to have seen everything life had to offer. She paused, letting silence linger like a held breath. I watched her. Every movement weighted with quiet history, as if she belonged to a different era. Why did you two separate? I asked carefully. Clara smiled without bitterness. Sometimes loving someone also means knowing when to leave. Her eyes drifted to the window, reflecting the late sunlight on the glass, shadows moving like phantom footsteps alongside us. Your father and I, we recognized each other too late, but we never stopped speaking, even when we weren't the same. She moved to the piano that my mother had left behind years ago, letting her fingers brush over the keys without pressing them. You know, she whispered, memory is a way of returning, even if no one is waiting for you. I stared at her. It felt strange to feel such calm beside someone who, in another context, should have been only a shadow of the past. That night in that house, she was the only living presence. After everyone had gone. The house felt heavier yet strangely alive. Clara stayed, moving slowly through the rooms, as if retracing old steps. Each creak of the wooden floor under her feet echoed in my chest. Sometimes she paused outside my door, listening or perhaps waiting. Then she would move on, her presence barely disturbing the still air. Later. I heard the piano, a soft, hesitant melody, almost a whisper. I rose from my chair, drawn to the sound, and found Clara sitting at the instrument, eyes closed, her fingers hovering above the keys. The notes were fragile, searching for something that seemed just out of reach. I couldn't sleep, she admitted when she noticed me. Neither could I said. We sat in silence, letting the music fill the empty spaces. It was more than sound. It was memory, longing, and something unspoken connecting us to Michael, as if he were sitting beside her, guiding her hands. Your father always said this house had a soul, she murmured. I had never believed it. I thought he was exaggerating. She glanced at the portrait hanging over the dining table, her eyes soft. Places carry love. Even after the people are gone, they don't disappear, they transform. Her words struck me, lingering in the quiet like dust motes in sunlight. She wasn't only saying goodbye to my father, she was saying goodbye to a part of herself that had loved him. The night deepened and rain began to fall outside. The scent of wet earth and blooming gardenia crept through the open windows. Clara tilted her face toward the droplets, and for the first time that evening, she smiled. Do you know the saddest part of grief? She asked. What? I said. That we don't miss the person as they are, but the version of ourselves when they were still here. I couldn't answer. Her voice, calm and tender, carried the weight of truth I wasn't ready to name. By the time the storm eased, we had moved to the library, where the scent of old paper and varnish filled the air. We dusted the shelves and organized books quietly, letting the mundane task ground us. Among the stacks, I found a folded letter in my father's handwriting. It read, Clara, if silence ever speaks to you again, do not be afraid. Listen and tell it that I try once more. I showed it to her. Her eyes glistened, tears forming, but silent. He never gave me this. She said. But he must have known, one day I would find it. She touched the paper lightly, reverently, like brushing against skin. Your father believed that souls never leave entirely, she said. They linger in those who remember them. I wanted to say something but no words came. The house felt different, now lighter, yet more aware as if every corner anticipated something from us. When the evening drew to a close, I offered her the spare bedroom. You shouldn't drive at this hour. She nodded. I'll stay in the room at the back if that's okay. It was more than okay. I felt relief. Even so, sleep did not come as. From my room, I could hear her moving softly through the hallways, a rhythm slow and deliberate, almost ceremonial. She paused occasionally at doors, the floorboards whispering beneath her. Then came the piano again, a single fragile tune. I slipped from my room and found her there, eyes closed, letting the melody breathe in the empty house. I'm sorry, she whispered. I couldn't sleep either. It's okay, I replied. We listened to the sound together. The music had no shape, yet it carried everything: memory, longing, the faint echo of my father's presence. Your father always said that this house had life. She said softly. I thought I had understood that house, the way it held our lives within its walls, but only now did I begin to feel it. The house was alive, breathing in rhythm with memory, with love that refused to fade. Night settled fully, carrying the distant murmur of the Maplewood streets outside, and within the house, between shadows and the lingering golden glow from the windows, it seemed the walls themselves were listening, watching, expecting us to understand something we had yet to name. The next morning was gray with the smell of wet earth and gardenia filling the air. I woke before 7. The memory of my father's funeral still fresh until my eyes fell on the dark suit he had worn. Draped over a chair, Clara was already awake, standing in the kitchen with a steaming cup of coffee, gazing out at the rain-soaked garden. There was a calm in her posture that made the room feel still, almost sacred. I didn't sleep much, she said without looking at me. Neither did I admitted. She took a slow sip of coffee and let the steam rise, carrying the warmth into the air. Asterisk, this house has its own rhythm, she murmured. Sometimes it seems to breathe, doesn't it? Asterisk, I wasn't sure how to answer. There was something in her voice that unsettled me and drew me in at the same time. A part of me wanted to deny it, but another part knew it was true. The house was alive in a way. I could feel it deep in my chest. Asterisk, she looked at me over the rim of her cup. Asterisk, your father taught me something here, she said softly. Asterisk. He believed there are places where love stays, not because it wants to, but because it still has something to say. Asterisk, her words lingered in the room, pressing against the silence. Asterisk, I watched her, trying to decipher the weight behind them. Later, we moved to the library together. Dust motes floated in the streams of light as we straightened books and cleared shelves. The smell of old paper was thick, comforting, and somehow alive. As I flipped through a leather-bound notebook, a folded letter fell out. I recognized my father's handwriting immediately. It read simply, Asterisk, Clara, if silence ever speaks to you again, do not be afraid. Listen and tell it that I try once more. Asterisk, I held it out to her. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry aloud. The quiet grief she carried was different from mine, serene, patient, and almost sacred. Asterisk, he never gave me this, she said, her voice trembling lightly. Asterisk, but he must have known I would find it one day. She touched the paper as if it were a living thing, brushing it delicately with her fingers. Asterisk, we spoke little after that. Words felt inadequate. The house seemed to wait for us to understand something beyond language. Its corners, its shadows, even the faint scent of varnish and dust, all seemed charged with expectation. Asterisk, that evening, I offered her the guest room again. Asterisk, you shouldn't be walking the streets this late. Asterisk, she nodded, accepting. I'll stay in the room at the back if that's okay. Asterisk, it was more than okay. Relief settled over me like a warm blanket, but the night didn't bring sleep. Asterisk, from my room. I could hear her moving through the hallways, slow, deliberate footsteps, pausing at doors as if listening, and then once more, the piano, a fragile melody that seemed to come from both her hands, and somewhere beyond them. Somewhere unseen. Asterisk, I descended quietly and found her at the instrument, eyes closed. The tune was fragile, searching, echoing as if the house itself were holding its breath to listen. Asterisk, your father always said this house had a soul, she whispered again. Asterisk, I thought I had understood what he meant, only now hearing the piano, feeling the vibrations in the walls and floor, I realized that the house wasn't just a building, it was a vessel for memory, for love, for what lingers after someone leaves. Asterisk, after a time, she opened her eyes and looked at me. Asterisk, do you hear him? She asked softly. Asterisk, who? Asterisk, Michael, she said almost reverently. He's here. Asterisk, the silence that followed was so thick it felt solid. The wind whispered through the partially open windows. The portrait in the hallway tumbled from the wall with a soft thud. I ran to pick it up, and when I did, something behind it caught my eye. A second painting, older and more hidden, revealed itself beneath the canvas. Asterisk, Clara, what is this? I breathed. Asterisk, she approached slowly, pale but composed. Asterisk, he painted it more than 20 years ago before he ever met me. She explained. The words chilled me, though I didn't know why. You were here long before him. She nodded lightly. Sometimes, destiny remembers before we do. Asterisk, we stood in silence, looking at the hidden painting. The wind shifted through the windows, moving the curtains as if the house itself were observing us. And in that quiet, I felt the unmistakable truth. This was more than memory, more than loss. The house, the piano, the paintings, they were alive with the echoes of love. Waiting for understanding, waiting for us to see. Asterisk, that night, I didn't sleep. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw the hidden portrait. I could hear my father's voice whispering words he had never spoken aloud. Asterisk, love does not die, it only changes its form. Asterisk, when the morning light crept through the windows, everything seemed unchanged. Yet nothing was the same. The hidden painting lay on the table, draped in a sheet, and Clara moved about the kitchen with deliberate care, every gesture quiet, almost ritualistic. When she noticed me watching, she smiled gently. Asterisk, some things only appear when you're ready to understand them, she said. Asterisk, I nodded, still looking at the covered portrait, and I knew she was right. Asterisk, the next morning, Clara prepared coffee with her usual slow, deliberate movements. Steam rose from the cup, curling in the air, carrying a warmth that seemed to fill the empty house. I watched her quietly, noticing the calm in her eyes, the ritual of her actions. She didn't need to speak for the room to feel alive again. When she noticed me watching, she smiled softly. ***, sometimes things appear only when we are ready to understand them, she said. ***, I didn't ask any questions. The hidden portrait, still draped in a sheet on the table, drew my attention like a silent invitation. There was a weight in the room, a quiet expectation. I didn't know what we were meant to see yet, but I felt its presence. Your father once told me, she continued, that when someone truly loves, time stops. Impossible loves don't die. They wait for the moment to be understood. She reached out, taking my hand, not with longing or sadness, but with a tenderness that disarmed me. You are proof that he never fully left. Michael is still here in you, and now this house is yours, too. I nodded, unsure how to respond. Something inside me, fractured since the funeral, began to settle. It felt like a puzzle finally fitting together. Like pieces of grief and memory and love finding their place. Clara said she would leave that day. Where will you go? I asked. Somewhere the memories weigh less, she replied. But I will return when this house calls me again. I didn't protest. I knew she would come back if the house or perhaps Michael wanted her to. That night, I wandered the hallways, restless and listening. I swore I heard my father's voice, clear and gentle, beside me. Take care of it, don't let the silence fade. The wind pushed through the open windows, lifting the sheet from the hidden portrait. For a moment, I glimpsed both faces. The man in the dining room portrait, and Clara in the hidden painting, illuminated by the soft moonlight. They seemed to look at each other across time as if the past and present had converged in that quiet room. The next day, Clara left. She left no notes, no letters, only the scent of coffee lingering in the kitchen and a small key resting on the table. I took it without thinking, a strange sense of duty and belonging settling over me. Months have passed since then. I live alone in the same house. Sometimes, when evening falls, the air smells faintly of fresh paint. From the old studio, I swear I hear the faint piano melody Clara once played, delicate and haunting. I close my eyes and imagine her laugh echoing through the halls. And in those moments, everything seems to return to its proper place. I cannot say whether my father is at peace, or whether Clara has fully kept her promise. But the house remains alive, listening, breathing, carrying the stories and love it has always held. Every night before sleep claims me, I remind myself of something my father once wrote. Love does not leave, it only changes form. And in that quiet truth, I find my place, my home, my inheritance, not just the walls and paintings, but the presence, the memory, the living heart of the house. The house breathes, I breathe with it, and somewhere beyond the veil of grief and time, I feel Michael and I feel Clara. And I understand at last, love is never truly gone.